Finally, Balthasar Gelt has an awesome campaign away from the rest of the Empire, making it completely unique with a unique mechanic to build the entire adventure around, being his new College of Magic system. We're going to quickly jump into his victory conditions, but most importantly, the key tips so you don't make the same first time mistakes that I did on my campaign, because this isn't so much a really difficult campaign, but there's a lot to consider, and if you commit too far the wrong way, you are going to run into a lot of problems. Your main mechanic is, of course, the College of Magic. We'll get into that in just a moment. Chasing campaign victory should not be what you're after with this campaign. Just play your campaign well, and this will surely come. We're going to do this a little bit different this time. Normally, I run through the big tips and then the walkthrough for the first few turns. First points will be on the grand campaign, i.e. where we're going to develop our borders and how far we want to expand to and why. And after that, we'll go into the campaign walkthrough with the campaign tips spread as they arise, so you can see in context rather than trying to get your head around a campaign that you haven't played yet. Getting into tip number 1. This is about supporting Grand Cathay, not conquering them. Your first few turns will be flooded with several dilemmas which will build you up with Xiao Ming as a military ally, and you absolutely should do this. Think of yourself as Balthasar Gelt, almost the ambassador of the Empire, to ensure the eastern lands stay strong, stay healthy, and are there as an ally for your Lord and Emperor if he so needs. Your job here is not to conquer, it is to build up the College of Magics, so simply avoid declaring war on any of the Cathayan factions. In the later campaign you can go after the Eastern River Lords, but you will need to focus on the two main threats, which are Snikch as well as Lockyer Fellheart. These two enemies can surround you if you expand too far in one direction, so you'll need your allies on side to provide you a border, as well as curtail them and stop them from expanding out too far. You can box them in and then eventually push them to the coast, and pushing them to the coast is what you should do. So critical tip number 2 is to expand to the east, not the west. Now you will find if you expand early on into here and start attacking Gorst, you are going to get backdoored so hard it's not funny. I can promise you right now, the amount of people that are going to first time go straight here and try to expand to the Dragon Isles and go, oh, what happened here? Because they're going to get smashed by two very, very powerful enemies here, which have a natural border of the mountains and of course the ocean. They have no choice but to come this way. So you're rolling out the red carpet for them to come and attack you. So instead, build your military alliance up here to build a western wall, and if you do get attacked by Gorst, deal with it as it comes. If he does attack you, just destroy his main army. He has Nurgle, he has Chaos Dwarfs, he has the Ogres, he has so many threats on his doorstep, and once you take away his means of defending himself, he will gladly take that peace treaty. Now critical tip number 3, the College of Magics. Each Law of Magic has its own school. To open up the school, you need to hire at least one of that particular Law of Magic. Now, because Gelt is a metal wizard, you automatically have access to the metal repeatable actions. Now, the one here to keep your eyes on is Transmutation, converting 150 into 3,500 gold. This is very, very useful. You will find yourself quite cash strapped in this campaign. You have many fronts and will often need more than one army. Additionally, these lands are quite spread out, which means more turns in between battles, so that deprives you of more loot, so you'll often find yourself a bit lacking, a little bit short for those building upgrades. This is your way around that, so don't forget you have this. And that takes me to point number 4. Don't go overboard in hiring all of your mages. I know it's so tempting to unlock all of these at once, but I'm going to show you on the walkthrough. Just start with 2. Believe me, I tried. On my first time playing this, I got as many wizards as I could, and I sent myself freaking broke. The upkeep for wizards is quite high, quite understandably, because they're great, but just choose 2. Once you've taken some territory, then increase that to 3. Now, which 2? I'm going to touch base here. So the most tempting, of course, is Heavens. Because of their ability, you can replenish the action points, i.e. the movement of the army that wizard is inside. I did some testing, and I really thought this would be more useful than it actually is, but for those occasions where you just can't reach that settlement and eliminate that enemy. Also, each school of magic has unique items that you can attach to your heroes. -3 wins off Common of Cassandora, as well as some extra ambush defense, meaning Snikch won't get the one up on you. Both very, very powerful abilities if you need them later on. And of course, the Law of Life needs no introduction at all. It's a fantastic law, and ideally one that you should pick first because you can heal your single entities with it. Additionally, Restoration will heal the entire army, and this is more useful than you think. You will have to do a lot of battles and a lot of travel between them. Being able to heal up your entire force without having to garrison for a few turns could be the difference between wiping out one of these powerful enemies and not allowing them to regroup. But I'm a pyromaniac. Everyone knows my favorite lore is fire because it's so damn reliable. In the early stages, you have some vampires to wipe out, meaning this is an excellent lore. To be honest, for fire, you just need the mage. Those are the 3 lores I recommend in the early stages. Moving on to Amber, which is the lore of beasts, and that of course is great. And if in a crisis, using the lore of beasts is very useful because you can summon some elementals. Now, if you ever are in a crisis, you think, oh my god, I have a rebellion, or I didn't give myself protected. Just say we have a rebellion here for argument's sake. What we do is we hire our crisis lord, doesn't matter who it is, and then we get our College of Magics. Let's just say it's undead. We want the Lore of Fire to deal with it, and we can even move him in the same turn, and there he is. If it's a really big attack, guess what? We can do it again. As long as we have the resources, we can do it multiple times. Let's put him inside the army, and now we have 2. Now, what if we're really worried that we can't handle it, and we don't want to increase the upkeep? Let's use Call of the Wild on here, and now we can hire 3 elemental units. The arcane currency is very easy to get, just keep winning battles, but this is the flexibility it affords. It's a very, very powerful mechanic, and you don't need to spend lots on buildings to increase your hero cap, you simply do it here. Just a quick reminder guys, if you are enjoying the video, please consider liking and subscribing, it really helps out. Ask any question in the comments, I answer everything, and if you'd like to talk strategy, feel free to join the Discord. Cheers. And here we are in a normal difficulty campaign. That's right, we're just doing normal today. The first campaign you saw was done on legendary, but I'm not feeling very well this week, hence the late content, so I'm just running through the first few moves on normal. I wrote them down on legendary, so they will absolutely suffice on both. Win your first battle, take your first settlement, and then build the embassy building, which will increase your relations with Cathay. Now you want to direct your first research to melee infantry. Getting the extra melee defense on your units across the entire empire is absolutely invaluable. Now, looking at your College of Magics, we're going to choose the Heavens Wizard simply because that ability to move twice in the same turn might be useful later on. We will hire a Life Wizard very soon, but just for now, starting with 1 because we don't want to send ourselves broke with too higher upkeep. Now, let's embed both our heroes and get ready to attack. For diplomacy, look around, make sure you do not ever sign with the dissenters. Xiao Ming absolutely hates them, everyone else hates them, don't sign with them, just ignore it. Simply sign with Xiao Ming. Turn 2, move Gelt up just to the border. Hire yourself 1 or 2 Pistoliers if you're a big fan of them, and then Swordsmen, so any 3 units that you can choose. Hire yourself a second Lord. You are going to need another Lord with some decent experience, and this is part of working up to that. Check your diplomacy to see if Yuanbo likes you yet, ignore the dissenters, and end your turn. Turn 3, besiege the settlement with Gelt and then move up your lord in force march so it gets some of the experience. Doing this is a really good way of getting a secondary lord, a bit of experience, and you can choose to put him as a beatstick or as a general, but with Gelt, make sure you put at least 1 point into your infantrymen to give them an extra full melee defense. Hire 3 more spearmen and end your turn. Turn 4, no enemy armies will be anywhere near you. Get both of your generals and force march them along the top of the ridge. Now take your captain and wizard out of Gelt's army and place him with your new general. We're using him to create a second smaller force, able to take a smaller settlement and shave off a bit of time of our conquest. Yuanbo will be keen to trade, sign away. Turn 5, move Gelt towards the capital and besiege Wuhan. Move your second lord just to the very edge of the reinforcement ring. Then have Gelt attack the settlement so he still gets that juicy experience. Now on normal this next part won't matter, but if you're playing on hard or legendary, you would actually want to maybe put most of your army in with this second lord because you're going to have to do a battle on legendary with this secondary army, and you can win it with only 3 units, I'll prove it in a minute, but it's much easier to of course use an army. Your diplomatic bonuses towards Cathay are absolutely stacking up now. Your captain should bolster experience and buff as much melee defense and hit points as he can. Your Heavens Wizard wants a point in Wind Blast as well as Uranus Thunderbolt. Both of these will be needed in the upcoming battle. Now force march your second lord in range of the next settlement. This means you can take it next turn, but you will have an exhausted army that might need to do a fight, and on legendary you absolutely will. On legendary it will look something a bit more like this. Now, Legendary, I absolutely recommend having more troops in this army because you will absolutely need them. As you can see, I basically cheesed this battle by hopping in a corner so I couldn't get flanked, using all my winds of magic on the enemy that was blobbed, and then cycle charging with my captain on its horse. I cannot reiterate how important that is to cycle charge and keep your horse unit moving whilst pinning them down with your primary melee lord. Hire troops to get Balthasar Gelt's army up to 15 units and in your turn. Turn 6, whichever way you split your army does not matter anymore because you'll be uniting them both. Now you can pin down the settlement with your general and now force march Balthasar Gelt up so you can reinforce with your remaining units. Of course, pass as many units as you can to the general because the one conducting the siege will gain the most experience. As for your secondary general, you can bulk him out in the red stats to give him strong units, or you can make him a beatstick yourself. Personally, I love the electric count on the Imperial Griffin, so I just like to go all out on the melee stats to make him a beatstick. Later in the campaign, I like to pair this guy with a captain and a few demigriff knights, and he can be our reinforcers coming in with the cavalry. Now you'll notice I haven't hired more than 15 units in Gelt's army because we're going to need that space for missile units as well as more wizards, and it's time to hire a life wizard, gaining our second one. We're going to hire him, bring him in, and he will now be in Gelt's army, so he will gain some extra experience for reinforcing this battle. So do the battle, it's nice and easy, and of course occupy, gaining some valuable experience on those casters. And that's why we try to get these casters on the field early. The sooner they're out, the sooner they are gaining experience. You'll notice in most of my walkthroughs I get the heroes out early because strong heroes with lots of levels means a strong campaign. Now there's a little bit of diplomatic nuance here. We have some sedentary treemen, you don't have to worry about them. Now Nakai the Wanderer, we do not want him and his Croxagores coming after us. Just check it out, see what a small gift will cost you. If it's under 1,000 gold, that is absolutely worth it. Turn 7, move both of your armies up in force march. There should be nothing around to threaten you. This is normally a bad idea and you normally want at least one army in ambush stance to protect the other, but you should be okay in this case. So just force march up along this way, it's the quickest route that you've got, and once you take that capital you have an excellent corner to your empire. In your capital, if you have a barracks, make sure you upgrade the settlement. That will help you get it to tier 2 as quickly as possible because crossbows are very useful against your upcoming enemies. Turn 8, you know the drill, we're going to besiege with our first army and then reinforce it with the secondary army, pass all your troops into one attacking so they gain the experience. Most of these fights so far have been relatively easy, but I decided I'd show this one because this one, you can do it by the auto resolve, but it tends to wreck you way harder than you need, and the replenishment's a bit low around here, so you don't want too many casualties. Firstly, along this lightly defended side, blast the tower to pieces with your Hellstorms. Make sure you do not have Fire at Will on. Choose manually to hold Alt, and then click where you would like them to shoot. You'll see when they build a barricade, they'll often put a set of Jade crossbowmen on top, and that means they can't move very quickly, so hold Alt to manually click and manually fire your Hellstorm rocket batteries, fire maybe 2 volleys and then stop. Do not waste your ammunition, it's very scarce. Make sure you have a target, click and automatically aim, do a manual volley, they won't be able to detect it as easily and you'll hit them way easier. Break through the gate, send a few troops through, but not too far through, and you'll see them blob around the entrance. Now use Uranus Thunderbolt and Searing Doom. Both of these have armor piercing. Against lots of Skaven, yet use Wind Blast, but their Jade Warriors are the most difficult thing for you to deal with because the Cathayan armor is quite thick. You don't have a lot of armor piercing, so this is where you need every single one of your Winds of Magic to contribute towards cracking through their armor. Remember, your Great Swords also have armor piercing, so cycle them in and then reel them back. Whenever you see those barricades being manned, blast a couple of rounds from your Hellstorm rocket batteries and then stop firing. Now that they're getting worn down, send your cavalry round to the side gate. Remember those 2 handgunners we built earlier? Well, they're going to come in handy now. They can rout, shove the enemy around, and then most importantly, disrupt their archers. In this case, run all the way around to the primary battle and then charge them in the rear, destroy the morale, and then win the battle. Congratulations, you just completed your second province. This will prompt another dilemma and of course sign that with Jiao Ming and become best buddies forever with an alliance with a plethora of buffs. Now turn 9, I got a little bit nervous, so I recreated this again on Legendary very hard just to make sure it absolutely does work, and it does work. But the one thing I want to bring forward here is that there's a few different ways you can play this campaign out, so rather than play this through to turn 20 or even 30, I'm just going to explain the options that you have available to you. So what have we done so far? We now have a safe diplomatic border here. We gave a small gift over here to Nakai, so he's not going to bother us. We of course have the mighty Jiao Ming blocking the western frontier, and if we do get attacked attacked here, by Gorst, we just have to beat them once and they'll peace out. So we don't have to worry about anything except for north. We'll eventually get an alliance with Miao Ying up in the north as well. But the next step is to take the Celestial Riverlands. Now, Xiaoming might take one of these settlements off you quite easily. You can just go across, take one of these out, declare war on the Dissenters, take one of their settlements, and you can trade those back and forth. So make sure that you get all of the Broken Lands and all the Celestial Rivers. These are the only two provinces that you really need to carry this campaign through. Everything else you can either sell off to someone else or even build up another province here if you want. But as soon as you start taking this, you are going to run into Snecht, who is here, and Lockyer Felhard, who is here. So rushing into this is not the right plan. Now, in my original walkthrough, I did rush this to try and seize this land as quickly as possible. Now, I don't recommend that. What I recommend is taking some turns to recover, to build yourself up, because your army right now doesn't have a lot of great units. You've got a lot of swordsmen, spearmen, which you do need. You need maybe 5, 6, you don't need more than 8, but you will need some firepower. You've only got a couple of crossbows, you need more of those. So these are the options that you have in your capital. What I would actually do is I would use these turns to get your heroes. Build a warrior priest and then knock this building down, and then build the gunnery building and get yourself an engineer. The engineer will increase the campaign movement as well as give some nice buffs. Also get a barracks upgrade tier 3 to get yourself a second captain. But your next enemy is vampires, so you don't build him yet, wait till you are about to attack. The Celestial Colleges allows you to hire and move the unit in the same turn. So the turn you are about to attack the vampires, hire the burning wizard and then attach him to your army. Very, very important, but there's no point paying the upkeep during this construction phase. In Wei Li, once that's built up, build the gunnery building, which will provide you a witch hunter as well as handgunners. But the one building I want you to not forget about is this, the stables. The stables will increase your local recruitment, of course very useful, but you will need the livery to get your new legendary hero. That quest battle will come up soon enough. And at your other capital, build the walls. Build them up to tier 2. And then up to tier 3, and that will give you Ulrika. That'll provide you with 2 legendary heroes, a swath of amazing normal heroes, and that will help fill out a secondary army, which you will need. Once you have the essentials taken care of, just build even a tier 1 weaving house. Don't try to upgrade these too quickly. The return on those is quite bad, but the return on a level 1 weaving house is excellent. Ideally, try to have one of those at least in every one of your minor settlements, and then move your way north, take the Celestial Riverlands. These guys will probably get wiped out. Take these settlements if you can, but then you need to take your time and carefully dismantle Snecht as well as Lockyer Felhard. Do not rush into either of them until you're built up enough. The last thing I'm going to touch on is Lockyer Felhard. This is a really, really bad early matchup. Dwarfs are a really hard matchup for Dark Elves, but Dark Elves are a really hard matchup for the Empire. You cannot have your plan be to walk up to Dark Elves in a static formation doing volleys of crossbow fire, because that's theirs and they do that way better than you ever will. You need to use your cavalry, you need to use your muscle, the one thing that they lack. If you come around the sides, you will bowl their dark shards over and smash their spearmen in the back. This is the key unit. You only need 2 of those, plus a couple of pistoliers for harassment. Go 6 crossbowmen, 2 handgunners, and then the rest of your mighty infantry will be able to pin them in place. That'll be an easy battle, and that's how you handle Balthasar Gelt. I hope this has been useful. Please consider liking and subbing. This is Elvin. I'll catch you next time.